Hello and welcome to the Called and Capable podcast, conversations with leaders living their calling. I'm your host, Sarah Sillers, and this is where purpose fuels leadership. We'll dig into questions like what's my calling and how do I lead through it with guests who have been there. Let's step into their stories together and find clarity and strength. There's Sarah here. Welcome back to the Called and Capable podcast. We're so thrilled that you're joining us today. If you didn't catch last week's episode, I interviewed Kenneth Sillers, and he is a life insurance agent and financial security planner, and he can help you achieve your financial goals. So you don't want to miss that episode. Also, so you know, if you wanted to go deeper and you just don't know where to start, then go ahead and check out my Getting Unstuck formula. It's called the Called and Capable formula. I'm actually going to be doing a free training, which is a free masterclass this Thursday, actually, April 24th at 4:30 Eastern. So you can go to calledandcapablemasterclass.com and reserve your spot today because you don't want to miss that. All right, before I introduce today's guest, let's go ahead and dive into the word and see what God has to say about our calling. In John 15:16, he says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you that you should go and bear fruit, that your fruit should abide, so that whatever you ask for in my Father's name, he may give it to you." Oh, I just love that. It just shows that we're predestined here. Okay, now for today's guest. She is a real estate professional in East Tennessee. That's where I'm at. She specializes in helping first-time home buyers and families relocating to the area. She knows a little something about trusting God in the unknown and how to serve others through her business. She's passionate about helping others navigating big life transitions with confidence, whether that's buying a home or stepping into a new season. Through her work and story, she hopes to reflect God's faithfulness and encourage others to trust Him in their own journey. So please welcome Megan Willett. Welcome, Megan.
Hi, yes, thank you so much for having me on. It's such a pleasure.
Absolutely. So glad you're here. Uh,
Yes, me too.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about your story, and pretty much how you got to be here. So if you don't mind, just go ahead and dive on in and let's hear your story about trusting God in the unknown. That sounds like there's something there.
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I, we are high school sweethearts. We married really young at 19. We moved to Georgia and we lived there for 3 years while he served in the military, which obviously had a lot of unknowns in it.
Yeah.
I don't have any direct family members that were military, so it was a huge life change for us. A lot of, stepping out of your comfort zone and doing a lot of that. Well, then about 3 years ago, we found out that we were going to have to leave the military early, and we didn't know where we were going. My husband ended his contract, and we felt that God was leading us to Knoxville. And it just really, like, God just had his hand on us the whole time. He just led us through, and he brought us job opportunities and really just helped us excel in our businesses. It's been amazing to see his faithfulness through it all. So.
Oh wow, that's incredible. That really, yeah, that sounds like you really had to rely on God in the unknown, and that's a big unknown is not knowing your paycheck is going to come from.
Yes, absolutely. So actually, I did a little bit of sales before I got into real estate. I actually sold wedding dresses, and it was just a totally different type of job. If you've never done sales, it's a little bit intimidating, and there's a lot of pressure behind it. But I found a lot of beauty in it that you can just really help people through something and watch like a magical outcome happen. And so it's been so beautiful to see that unfold. And then my husband, he had a full career change. His job in the Air Force was not one that would the normal lifestyle. So his Air Force job was completely different. And so when he decided he wanted to be an electrician, God just really moved in our lives, and we've been able to help each other and just lean on our marriage and really strengthen the community. It's been really cool to see.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a relief. If you don't mind, could you kind of go into a little bit about how you discovered your career paths after so many major life changes and kind of discovering that? What helped you discover your professional?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely had my toes dipped into sales a little bit, but wedding dress selling wasn't exactly something that paid the bills. And so my husband actually is the one that had the idea. He was on deployment in Japan, and he had a friend that was a real estate agent on the side, and he just told me, I think you'd be really good at this. It's helping people. And that's really where my passion lies, is just helping people and, serving them. And so it's been really cool to see God use that through real estate and just using that as a ministry. I think it's really easy to look at your career as just get up in the morning and do this and do that, but God really uses it to serve people through His people. So
Oh, it makes such a huge difference when you can get out of bed joyful every morning and looking forward to the day versus hitting snooze for that 15 times or whatever, or playing little tricks like, oh, if I put it across the room, then maybe I'll get up today. It's like, no, no, you want that joy and excitement that the Holy Spirit gives you, quite frankly.
yes, absolutely. And so I definitely wouldn't say it was an easy jump. It took a long time to build your business up. There's actually a statistic where most realtors fail within the first year just because you only get paid when you get to the closing table. So, especially going to a new city where, I didn't know anyone, I really had to put my reliance in God and my husband and just my community to help me really push through those difficult times and say, is this what I want to do? And honestly, I really didn't know if real estate was going to be the career path for me. And so, if that's an encouragement to anybody out there that's like, I'm not really sure if this is it, just keep pressing on because God can use that to your testimony and to show you what He's working in your life, even though you may not see it.
Oh, 100%. Well said. And it's knowing that when God is opening up doors and opportunities for you, and also when He's closing them. So it's that prayer that I think you really find the answers if you should proceed, or if you're knocking and He hasn't revealed it yet. So that's definitely something to consider.
Yeah.
Um, so you talked a little bit about serving others through your business. Could you kind of give us a taste of what that looks like to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, obviously, real estate's a kind of a stressful experience for people that, for me, I do this every day, so it doesn't seem too stressful. But I think that's kind of what makes certain people stand out in real estate is having that empathy, and understanding that, this could be their first time, it could be their fifth time. It could be a different amount of things that they could be going through, but each challenge has its own difficulties, and each transaction is going to have its own difficulties. And so, yeah, I just try to like pray for my clients, encourage them. Actually, a few weeks ago, I actually prayed with my client in her new home that will be closing on next week, and it was really just a beautiful moment to encourage her and help her through a time where she felt stressed and worried, and like just to put her reliance in God. And so, I think that just being that encouragement, that light, and shining the light of Jesus to other people can really be a huge ministry. And if they don't know Christ, just, you know, shining that light to them just as much, they need it just as much. So just using what you can to pray for them, encourage them, and, hopefully glorify God through it all. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you find it that you have opportunities to speak with your clients about the Lord, like maybe invite them to church if they're, coming into the area or something like that, that you're really able to minister to them, if it's appropriate, of course.
Sure, yeah. I think there's always opportunity. There's definitely fear as well. How are they going to respond? What's going to happen? But I definitely think there's opportunities especially when you're doing the buying side. You have so much time that you spend with this client. You go into houses all the time together. You're constantly emailing and phone calls. And so there's a lot of communication that goes on. And it's such a great opportunity to, maybe just planting little seeds. Maybe it's not something huge, but hey, I'm praying that your offer gets accepted or that this is the house for you, or like that God opens the door to whatever house it may be, maybe it isn't this one. And so just little things like that, I think make a big difference. Even if they're not a believer, they appreciate that. They appreciate that encouragement, and it makes a big difference for them.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure with that, people are looking for a community, whether they're from this area and they're relocating to a different neighborhood, or they're relocating to a whole new state, a whole new life. I would think that there is some opportunities there. Can you tell me a little bit how you help them with their community or and the power of community and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that really helping, especially if they're Christians, helping them find a church that they fit in best with, inviting them to church, just helping them to get connected where they can. If usually I like to ask, are you into any particular activities, that interest you? Is there something that I can look into further, especially if they're big into hiking, they want to be in proximity to the Smokies or they want to be in proximity to this and that. And so just being a resource for them and finding different things depending on what their interests are. It's honestly so much fun too. I love to just tell people about Knoxville, and if you do follow me on social media, you'll see that I love finding little like spots and hidden gems in the area that are just really cool and make Knoxville unique. And I just have such a heart for this place, and I think that each spot in Knoxville is so different, and that can really help people too. Like if you live in Fountain City, it's a completely different vibe than living in West Knoxville. And so I think that's really fun too, is just getting them plugged into the right location that fits what they're looking for. And then, praying that God provides opportunities for them to find that community.
Absolutely. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I'm like hyper organized, so my first thought is, when they're looking at a house and they put in an offer and you go, okay, what do you like to do or whatnot, to almost like pull up a map and include a church or two, depending on, or oh, this is where I go, maybe, and of course it's never pushing it. It's always an invitation, just like it's an invitation from the Lord. It's never pushing. So I think that's really great that you're able to invite more and more people and to continue to build our body of believers in your own unique way through your strengths.
Yes, absolutely. It's a big blessing, and it's something that I didn't really look at a way that God was going to use me in. He's like, "Surprise, guess what?" So it's really cool to see how he works, and it's just been amazing to, remember that in those times where you're feeling discouraged or feeling unmotivated. God's brought me here. What else is He doing that I can't see right now?
So, in a previous conversation, you're kind of telling me that you're able to encourage others when they're going through a season of transition. So, what that looks like to you, how are you able to utilize your strengths and your gifts to help encourage others?
Yeah, so I definitely think one of my spiritual gifts from the Lord is prayer and encouragement. So I think just being, there for that person, you know, being their confidant essentially, anything that they need, checking in, hey, how are you feeling this week? This is where we're at as far as an update, but also is there anything that I can do for you? And just to take it a step further, and really serving them instead of just looking at it in a transactional viewpoint, just to really see, what are some ways that I could encourage them and honestly, most of that could just be simple of sending a little Bible verse or saying a prayer for them, or maybe they're undergoing some, life circumstance. I actually have some clients that are going through a real tragedy, and so it's been amazing to just watch them grow with God through it and be that encouragement alongside them as they go through this difficulty.
Absolutely. That's incredible that you are able to utilize those talents, and furthermore, that you know what your spiritual gifts are, or at least a couple of them. And I'm not sure if you listeners have done that yourself, but you can actually go to like lifeway.com or just Google spiritual gifts, and you can find out what your spiritual gifts are, because I think that is super helpful that you're able to not just use personally, but professionally in your relationships, whether you're a mother raising children, or if you're single and you want a better relationship with a friend, that it really helps you dive in deeper to what God has given you and to what you're able to cultivate and nurture and continue doing so.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, sorry, go ahead. There
Oh
was a
no, you're
delay.
fine. I was just going to say say, yeah, I actually didn't really know about spiritual gifts until a couple of years ago, and it's really cool to see people like discover what theirs are, because I think so many people look at the obvious ones, and so it's really fun to see. Your gift could be simple. It could just be encouragement. It doesn't have to be something. I mean, it's amazing when people, can sing or can do this or can do that. But I think there's a lot of beauty in those simple gifts that are overlooked. So.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. You know what? To kind of wrap this up, what is a piece of advice that you have for our listeners to use their strengths or their spiritual gifts and start living their calling? Do you have any advice for the listeners?
Yeah, I think just listening to God and not your own heart. It's so easy to set goals, especially as a business owner. You want to achieve certain things, and that's wonderful. And I think it's important that we have that drive and that ambition, but also prioritizing what God is putting in front of you first, and not leaning on your own understanding and your own goals. In your self-righteousness, that be humble and accept that the Lord has a calling for you, and to really just serve him and glorify him through it.
Oh, I love that. I'm just gleaning so much wisdom from you, and I'm really enjoying our conversation. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you, follow you, all of that good stuff, in case they want to just hear your inspirational message, or if they're looking to relocate to the area?
Yes, absolutely. So my Instagram and TikTok handle are both Megan Willett Realtor, just my first and last name and Realtor. And then on Facebook, my page is just Megan Willett. So you can add me as a friend or follow my regular page, either way. But the way I see it is, let's encourage each other and walk to glorify Christ. So.
Oh, I love that. And I'll make sure and link those social media handles in the description along with their website. So if you guys are looking into moving to the area, or if you live here in East Tennessee and you're looking for a realtor, you can go ahead and contact Megan and see how she can better serve you. All right, listeners, thank you so much for joining with us today. I hope you had some great takeaways. Maybe you gleaned some wisdom from Megan or myself. We are here to serve, and we just thank you so much for coming on. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode, and make sure you like it, share it. We just love your support, and we really appreciate it. Next week, we actually have a guest who is a dedicated third generation entrepreneur with over 40 years of experience. He's passionate about advocating for small businesses with their growth and community development, and he leads with honesty and transparency. He actually founded a nonprofit to empower Hispanic and diverse small businesses across Southern California, and he's a personal friend of mine. So go ahead and be sure to tune in next week. I'm sure you'll have some wonderful takeaways. And if you're wanting to go deeper and you might be asking what's next, well, I do have a called and capable formula that you can go from being stuck to living your calling. And I'm offering a free masterclass this Thursday, April 24th at 4:30 Eastern Time. You can go to calledandcapablemasterclass.com to reserve your spot because you don't want to miss it. All right, guys, I'll catch you next time. That's a wrap for this episode of the Called and Capable podcast. Thanks for joining us. If today's interview sparks something, whether it's clarity on your path or motivating you to succeed, don't stop here. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen, and catch the video version on YouTube or Rumble. Be sure to grab your free capability audit checklist at calledandcapablepodcast.com/audit. Until next time, keep chasing what you're called to do because you are capable. See you soon.